Hello to Soren and the Top Miniatures team. So this video is kind of sharing a little bit of my thoughts on sort of the theming of the paint job. I know that you sent me a Google box, I think, where you can write down some of the information and that type of thing. But again, I don't have a lot of specific things to say. It's harder to type it. The links are, I don't know how to work with it quite as well. So I figured maybe just make a little video. It's easier to kind of articulate what I'm thinking. So this is the Art of a Blood Rage book by Adrian Smith. It was available for $25 when the board game Kickstarter was first made available for pre-order. So now, of course, it's worth $125, almost 5 times its amount. I'm just kind of carefully flipping through it. This is the art that is replicated for all of the cards and the instruction book and, for the entire board game. And they collected all these little art and sketches and things like that in this book. It's not very thick, maybe 25, 35 pages. So looking at it, this would be something, again, that you could take inspiration from. You have the original board game. And so with the original board game, you have access to all the cards, and you see this art scattered throughout. This is just in a nicer format as a book. So this is a nice starting point. Here's the, for instance, the Frost Giant. Very nice. Here's the regular troll, the Mystic Troll. So, they give you reasonable sort of sketches. Here's one of the Serpent Clan. Okay, she's, I believe, the leader. So there you go, over here. This is another version of the Serpent Clan. I'm just kind of, showing you some of the art. So, you can kind of get an idea of what the original, I guess, inspiration is from Adrian Smith's point of view for these Vikings. Like I said, it's a short book, so, there's the Wolf Clan right there. A little close-up on the wolf. Here he is. Black and white. What's this guy here? Okay, another Wolf Clan warrior. I'm sure you'll be able to recognize from the miniatures. Right there. I think these are dwarves. Yeah, and then over here, of course, is the mountain giant. Right here. Here's a sea serpent. I believe these are dark elves. This is more black and white. Loki, some of the gods. Here's Loki himself. In red. These are the other gods. Odin on the throne. This is actually the cover of the book. Our Valkyrie. We'll skip back. Start flipping pages the other way. Raven Clan, very nice. These are the Soldiers from Hell. The cover of the game, of course. The Bear Clan. The Bear Clan leader. And you can pause at any time, of course, to get a better idea. Here's one of the other soldiers. fire giant. Very famous picture. The Ram clan. The shamans, the mystics, the warriors here. It's not just reference art. There's the Volor witches. The Wolfman. And it is the Kickstarter exclusive, the Wild Boar. The inspiration for the miniatures, and then here's all the shamans. There should be 6 of them, and there is. Hopefully I'm giving you decent pictures. It's a pretty rare book, so it's unlikely that you're going to be able to find this easily. But you may you may find versions of this online, but this is the original source. These are the gods: Thor, Frigga, Tyr. There's Ragnarok. Not Ragnarok, Valhalla, excuse me. Heimdall right here. And of course Fenrir, looking like a big dog with red eyes. That's great. Okay, so that's it. That's all the art from the book. Thinking about it, it's a nice starting off point, to get some idea of what the colors are. But, saying that, you don't have to be bound to it. I find the style, while very nice, I find the colors a little bit muted. Now, I don't, of course, want this to be cartoon color, I don't want it to be bright or anything like that, but a little bit of variation is okay. A little bit of brightness is okay. All of this stuff looks very, very gray and dreary. Maybe it's in keeping with the Ragnarok or the style, but it just seems very kind of, cold. And I want my miniatures to have a little bit of vibrancy. But some of the colors are very nice. Some of the details, it gives you again the idea of some things like jewelry and hair color and washes and metals and furs. It's a good starting off point to give you that. My feeling here is that these models will be level 3 and the monsters level 4. They're very, very high end. Essentially display level pieces. But I'm going to gently play with them. To that degree, I want there to be some theming. I would like there, especially with the 6 clans, I want there to definitely be this sense that this is a clan and it is a family, it is a culture, and it should be hopefully reasonably distinct, meaning that the bear and the ram and the snake and the serpent should have a color palette that both distinguishes each other. They have their own unique type of palette, but also should be recognizable that they're also of the same background and the same clan. Meaning that I want to have a scenario where you can pretty easily recognize that the serpent clan or the ram or the bear are together as a clan without looking at just the brown base or the yellow base. But that being said, Within that context, I also want a little bit of variation to give the illusion that the four identical warriors are maybe different. Maybe some different hair here or there, a little bit of a little touch difference in jewelry, or even a little bit touch difference in clothing, but still maintaining sort of the unity of theme, where you look and you immediately go, oh yeah, aside from the pose and the base color, that's brown or yellow or red, you're like, yeah, those guys are from the same region. And also within that context, immediately being able to tell that the ram and the wild boar are also different, so that on the game board, they don't all look like this big jumbled brown mess. And there's another site that did a beautiful paint job, very detailed, but I didn't like their color choices. Everything seemed very olive and earthy, and maybe that's more, true to, the original art by Adrian Smith, but it lacked a little bit of variety to me. So hopefully, that and it makes sense what I'm trying to say. So that we can look at the game board and go, oh yeah, that's Wolf, coming in, and obviously for experienced players we can tell just by the pose of the miniatures. But again, that level of painted detail to kind of separate the clans and give each of them a kind of a unique individuality. So kind of almost telling a little story through the paint. So that's kind of my general thoughts on the clans. I think the clans will be a little bit the most challenging, because they definitely make up the bulk of the work. When you also include the shamans or the mystics, you're talking about, the ship I don't count because it's basically a little game token really, right? But in terms of the true miniatures, you're talking about 11 miniatures per clan, which is 66 actual figures. That's well over 2/3 of the work are the clans. And so that's going to be the challenge, is again what I just talked about, adding a little bit of individuality to the identical clones, while also keeping them very much part of the same clans. You can feel like they're part of the same culture and region, and then making them a little bit distinct from each other to give that variation. But again, not at the risk of making them look like cartoons. Like, I don't want, for instance, the serpent clan to be bright yellow and the ram bright green, etc. Certainly you don't have to stick with the color, although it might be, nice. But if it makes sense, then do it. Luckily, for most of the clans, green, red, brown, yellow, blue, they can be very naturally incorporated into the culture and the armor, the clothes. Purple for the wild boar is a little bit of a stretch, I have to admit. So maybe you might have to think outside the box a little bit. I don't know if I want purple fur or something crazy like that, even though the base is purple. So there you go, and we can refine some of these ideas. You can give me some of your ideas. I'd like to hear from you guys as well when you start on this. I don't see too much of a problem for the rest, because all the gods of Asgard have a lot of reference material, and of course they're the great Norse gods. Odin, you don't have to use this Odin. You can use a lot of different source material to see what he looks like, or Loki. Just start again. It's nice because again, the scopes are based off of the art here. But you're not bound by it. But I think the gods have a lot of individuality where I don't have to worry about these things with the clans. Obviously, all the monsters have a lot of individuality as well. Some of the monsters unique to the world of Blood Rage, like let's say a Volor witch, or a dwarf chieftain or soldier of hell. Again, you can use the artwork as a springboard. But they all have a lot of, I think, individuality, so you don't have to worry again about differentiation. You have 2 dwarf chieftains, 2 dark elves, 1 male, 1 female, 2 soldiers of hell. So I think it won't be too bad. Again, differentiating the 2 and yet making it clear that they're from the same clan, like the same dark elves and that type of thing. And the same goes for the monsters, a lot of which are level 4 paint jobs, where you have a lot of free reign to kind of knock things out and use free paint and tattoos and things like that and make them look really unique within reason. One of the great painters, paint jobs, they painted the ice giant beige, brownish, it's like they turned an ice giant into a mountain giant, and that I wasn't too happy with that choice when I looked on the website. So in general, fire, ice, it should be bluish or whitish. It should make sense. But within those general rules, you have a lot of freedom to let your creativity show, a lot of freedom for the basing. I mean, that's what I'm paying for anyways, is to have that come out. And same thing, again, all the monsters are pretty individual, so I'm not too worried about that. So, those are my general thoughts. For Fenrir, let's make the big monsters, especially those like a little bit more unique. I don't want Fenrir to look like a big shaggy brown dog with glowing red eyes, even though that's what this book says. Let's make Fenrir a little bit more special. Let's try again within the context of what we can, make him look otherworldly. Remember the original Norse mythology, Fenrir bit the hand off of Tyr. It should be almost a godlike wolf. Make it supernatural. Make him something to be feared, not just like, oh, that's a shaggy dog, or something like that. We don't want that. So again, those are moments where sometimes we can depart from the source material to make it tell a better story through the art. And again, if those effects require Fenrir to be bumped up a little bit to level 4, then let me know your thoughts, and I can do that too. Most of the big monsters I went to level 4 here with you. Some of the smaller ones I kept at level 3. So anyways, that's basically it. My quick thoughts as a starting point, a platform for some of the themes of the project. And I look forward to hearing feedback from you. Thank you again for your attention, and take care.